as many of his close circles knew him, always avoided the limelight and refused the traditional worldly honors showered upon him by different government and academic institutions. He would always say, "I was born and bred in a family that does not believe in such matters." However, it is perhaps befitting that Kamal Salibi now lends his name to such a worthy cause, and to an award that celebrates his own as well as other activists' legacies and his quest throughout his 50-so years in AUB to uphold academic freedom, and to ensure that successive challenges, to put it mildly, to both faculty and students are adequately addressed. Early on in his academic career, Salibi became the faculty advisor to a group of students calling themselves Rabitat al-Tullab al-Lubnaniya, which is the Lebanese Student League, which were alarmed by the growing influence of Jamal Abdel Nasser and his brand of Arab nationalism, which they thought it is an infringement on Lebanese sovereignty and ultimately AUB. Under his guidance and hands-on approach, Salibi guided his students and later on friends through the changing realities of local and regional politics against the backdrop of the Arab-Israeli conflict. While initially he was branded as a rightist, Salibi surprised many when in 1994, after stepping down as an advisor to the Rabita, he came to the aid of the Palestinian and pro-Palestinian students on campus. At that time, Salibi supported the pro-Fatah faction on campus against the Kirkwood administration. Salibi, who was never a fan of the PLO nor its politics, felt that these AUB students were being treated unjustly by an administration which dealt with the majority of their requests in a patriarchal and high-handed manner. Even after the outbreak of the Lebanese Civil War, Salibi, like many others, remained active in and around AUB to ensure that this institution remained operational. It is worth mentioning that the majority of the AUB faculty at a certain stage during the Civil War offered to relinquish their pay if this meant AUB's continuity. Both an admirable and unmatched altruistic act. In the mid-1980s, Salibi and other faculty members who refused to abandon AUB and Lebanon in its hour of need established the AUB Faculty Association and obtained the governmental permit Al-Ilm Al-Khabar, giving it the necessary autonomy to pursue its syndicate goals. This period of AUB's as well as Salibi's history remains somewhat of a mystery, only known to people who were witnesses to these events or had the chance to ask the people involved in retrospect about this period, me being of the latter group. Moreover, people who had the chance to read Salibi's memoirs, Ta'ir al-Sindiyana, which he chose not to detail his faculty association experience for a number of reasons. The faculty association was perceived by the administration at that time as an inconvenience which should be contained. Thus, some administrators reached out to a Lebanese party/militia in an attempt to bully Salibi and the association. Concurrently, these same elements launched a media campaign accusing Salibi, whose name translates into crusader, of harboring a pro-Western imperialist plan. Following this, Salibi was advised by his close friend, Prime Minister Said al-Hass, who wasn't Prime Minister at the time, who wasn't able to ensure his personal safety, to leave Beirut for a while. Consequently, Salibi moved to Amman. One reason why Salibi's memoirs is missing this episode might be perhaps he didn't want the story to be used against an institution which he himself clearly distinguished between its administrators and its students and faculty. While he loved and cherished the latter, the former he always used with suspicion. Moreover, it was upon the recommendation of some of his close friends who were still associated with the AUB senior administration in 2001, he so graciously avoided publishing this fiasco. A few months before he passed away, I asked him if he thought it was time for him to fill in the blanks and maybe add these episodes and others to his memoirs. To this, Salibi was extremely positive and instructed me to contact his publisher in Amman to inquire about this process and if it's time to republish a new edition. In 1992, Robert, or Bob Haddad, AUB's newly appointed president, famously declared that the faculty that remained in AUB throughout the war did not have the credentials nor the qualifications to leave the country, and thus were forced to remain